Hello, we are looking at reading a story. This is from the Newcomer book, lesson 102. So the big idea, stories have parts in common. And we see those parts here. Stories have characters. The people in the story are the characters. Stories have a setting. Where, when. The setting shows when and where the story happens. Stories have a title. And stories have a plot. And a plot is what happens first, what happens in the middle, what happens in the end. And we usually show it as a plot map. The beginning, the middle, the end. So here we see the story, King Midas and the Golden Touch. King Midas was a greedy king who lived in a palace. He lived in a palace or a castle. He wanted to be the richest man in the world. He made a wish. His wish came true. Everything he touched turned to gold, but it was a bad wish. King Midas couldn't eat because the food he touched turned to gold. He hugged his daughter, and she turned to gold. That was very sad. Okay, so this is fiction. It's based on imagination. And this is a type of fiction called a myth. And a myth is an imaginary story about the past, and it often is used to teach a lesson or explain something. So we're going to practice some sentences. Okay. So first listen to the sentence and then repeat the sentence. Okay, let's start with number one. Number one, fiction is based on the imagination. Say it with me. Fiction is based on the imagination. Listen. The title is the name of the story. Your turn. The title is the name of the story. Listen. The people in the story are its characters. Your turn. The people in the story are its characters. Listen. The setting is where the story happens. Your turn. The setting is where the story happens. Listen. The plot is what happens in the story. Your turn. The plot is what happens in the story. Listen. A story describes a series of events. Your turn. A story describes a series of events. Listen. The message in the story is its theme. Your turn. The message in the story is its theme. Listen. All stories have an ending. Your turn. All stories have an ending. Listen. The myth of King Midas is old. Your turn. The myth of King Midas is old. Listen. A story sometimes has a lesson. Your turn. A story sometimes has a lesson. Now practice reading these with a partner. Words 11 to 20. First listening, then reading with me. Listen. King Midas is the main character. Your turn. King Midas is the main character. Listen. The king was greedy. Your turn. The king was greedy. Listen. King Midas made a wish. Your turn. King Midas made a wish. Listen. Everything he touched turned to gold. Everything he touched turned to gold. Listen. He hugged his daughter. Your turn. He hugged his daughter. Listen. He turned his daughter to gold. Your turn. He turned his daughter to gold. Listen. King Midas learned a lesson. Your turn. King Midas learned a lesson. Listen. This story is imaginary. Your turn. This story is imaginary. Listen. Fiction is not real. Your turn. Fiction is not real. Listen. The story teaches a lesson about greed. Your turn. The story teaches a lesson about greed. Now practice reading these sentences with a partner.